You are now listening to
Likely to Dispute,
hosted by Monkas, Reed, and Tyler. How's everybody doing? It's Cevan, aka the Monkas. Joineth me, not as always, is Reed, Camden, Kay, and Thorn. And this is episode 39 and a half of Likely to Dispute.
We have an emergency trade pod today. Two big trades went down. We have Cam² with us. Greg's Lobos has started the selling, and we thought they were worthy enough trades to pump out an emergency pod for you here. We have host Monkas walking us through it. So, Cevan, give us the first trade.
Yeah, first one went down between Thorn and Kay. Thorn receiving George Kittle, Jalen Waddle, a 26 fourth, a 27 second. Cam² receives Sam Laporta, Amari DiMercato, and a 2027 first, notably his own first back. Always good to get back when you're selling off and you don't have your original first pick. So, Thorn, let's talk to you. You were the buyer here. What did you like about your return and willing to give up in the deal?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, I've been trying to kind of get off Laporta for the whole year. Sometimes more than I should. Trying to get off that stack of Laporta and Amon-Ra was really, kind of important to me to try to make a run here in a couple weeks, hopefully make the playoffs and then make a run. And I think that the two guys that I got back in return are going to help me for sure this year. Kind of trying to stack Jalen Waddle with a hopefully revived
There's a sad
Tua.
stack right there.
Hopefully revived Tua, I think could honestly help me out a lot. And, if they give me a couple killer weeks trying to make it, I don't know. I guess I don't know what the Dolphins record right now, but trying to kind of get back into the race a little bit. I think they're 4 and whatever, so they still have a shot. It kind of sets me up a lot better this year. Giving up that 2027 first hurt a lot. I know not too long ago I was saying that nope, it was not for sale, but it was a pretty decent trade, I think, on both sides. It kind of helps both of us out. So yeah, I was just excited to make a deal. I've been getting dogged for not making deals, so here we go.
Rightfully so.
This will start me off, hopefully a couple in the next few weeks to help me out.
Yeah, awesome. And then Kay, from you, the seller in this situation, got a much younger Sam Laporta and your own 27 first. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think getting Laporta in my mind, it was swapping Laporta for Kittle, and then everything else was basically a trade for Jalen or the cherry on top. Laporta obviously being the younger asset, with Kittle being a better fantasy producer over the next 2 to 3 years, which it seems that's what Cam Thorne's window is going to be compared to mine. I was just sitting in a spot where, with Jane Daniels going down, I have no depth behind him. I just felt like I needed to make a deal, capitalize on the seller's market a little bit, and really liked the return and the conversations Cam and I were having going back and forth. Personally, I did not view the 2027 first in the same light as I think much of the league did. I think the team could be a little bit more competitive going forward. Um, but with that being the centerpiece of the deal, it does certainly incentivize me to go full tank mode, and we'll get into that a little bit later, I'm sure. But really like getting the 2027 first back in what is appearing to be a really loaded draft class.
Yeah, that by the time that 27 first comes around, Waddle, he'll be 28, and then I think more notably in that window, Laporta's 8 years younger than Kittle, so that's huge there. But good on you for making a decision. Reed, any thoughts on this one?
No, I don't have anything crazy to say here. I really like the trade for both sides. I think Cam Thorne got a much needed upgrade to his last kind of spot. At this very moment, I think Kittle is better for fantasy production the rest of the season than Laporta. So I think this is a good trade for him. I'm not, as Cam² said, I don't think coveting his 2027 first from the outside perspective is that valuable. But I love it for Cam² because he gets a young tight end, as you said, 8 years younger, and a really good offense that's going to be reliable. Maybe not have the same ceiling, but he's going to have more longevity. And the most important part is that he does get his own pick back. So if next year he's not able to turn it around in one season, he is competing for his own pick. Put his name in the Jeremiah Smith sweepstakes. Like I think this was a smash for both sides. I like the return for both sides. Cam² now has 7 picks in the first 2 rounds between 2026 and 2027. So yeah, I really like this trade for both sides. Claps all around.
Yeah, my short thoughts is the only thing is with Cam², your record, you're kind of firmly in that you're just in an awkward spot with your record being what it is, 6 wins, uh, seemingly still the potential to make the playoffs. But yeah, like you said, not having the depth at quarterback, going to be missing both quarterbacks 2 weeks in a row. Um, Tough decision, but Cam Thorne going and buying. I know you've been rocking double tight ends all year, and
I was even
you know
triple.
that, yeah. So that Kittle Warren, nice the rest of the season, then gives you more options at receiver. You don't have to run out DK by force every week anymore. So like it for both. We'll get on with the next one. This one is between Reed and K. Reed gets Kyren Williams, 26th third, my third, and a 2028 second for seemingly a throw-in Darnell Washington,
No, don't disrespect this man.
a 2027 second, and a 26 first. So, Reed, I'll start with you here on you being the buyer in this situation. Why was Kyren a target, and why did you want to make the move?
Yeah, this one's pretty simple for me. We talked about it on the last pod. I need a running back. Unfortunately, I cannot keep starting Kenneth Walker at this moment in time. Uh, and Kyren was the target because he was the one who was available. I am not a huge Kyren fan. Mr. K is also not a big Kyren fan. I don't think anybody loves Kyren, but he's going to be solid. And with kind of the ceiling that I have around him, I feel like his floor, despite the massive ceiling, I think will be enough to kind of get me what I need. And, I had Cam's first already, so I traded him his own first back from the deal with Cam Thorne that he traded up for RJ Harvey in the rookie draft. So I had that first sitting there, and it just again worked out perfect for Cam² now that he's uh, given up on this season, get his own pick back, and then the rest of it just kind of feels like fluff. I traded my second from next year to move my second back to 28, and then add a third. So kind of similar to the way he Cam² phrased the last one. It was like Kyren for a first, and then moving up. Cam wanted to move his second up to next year rather than 28, which if that was what got the deal done, I was okay with that. And obviously, Darnell Washington, future stud. I mean, no one wants to tackle that guy. He's a brick wall. So not a throw-in piece. He was a major pillar of this deal.
Awesome. And then K again, seller in this situation. What was it for you that made you willing to move off Kyren?
This was the trade talk that really sparked the full sort of sell-off mode of then sparking the deal with Cam Thorne. So Reed and I were chatting this morning about what we could do to get something done. And I wasn't really in the mood to move Kyren because I thought the starting lineup I had was solid. You mentioned like I have 6 wins on the year, but injuries has just really started to pile up, and so the wheels were kind of falling off. So wanted to try to get out ahead of it and put myself in the best position going forward because I don't see this as a championship contending team. Definitely not gonna make championship weekend and earn one of the money spots. So needed to do something smart, get ahead of it. Reed was coveting Kyren, not because he really loved the player, but because he loved that he was potentially available. And I know that 2026 first could just turn into Kyren Williams again, which frankly I would be very happy with because he'd be about 3 years younger. But Kyren is still like, I think he's like 25 years old, but the Rams have sort of worked to try to supplant him a little bit the last few years between getting Corum, mixing up a snap share a little bit. But he's still standing strong. But the offer of my own first back for what is likely going to be a top four pick, and then being able to move up from the 2028 to the 2027 draft, sort of accelerate the rebuilding timeline a little bit. I was enticed by.
Does
Sweet.
would the equation and kind of over both of these trades, would the equations have changed if the first you were getting back were not your own first? Was that a huge drawing point for you to be able to control where you were drafting?
Particularly with the deal that we made, that was big because I know I could immediately the rest of the season, the outlook was really poor for me anyway, with Jaden out for at least another 2, 3 weeks. And who knows if CJ Stroud's gonna be able to play this Sunday again, but that was a big proponent in getting our deal done. And then I believe that my first was the only first that Cam² had in 2027. So that was just naturally what it needed to be. I didn't want to wait for a 2028 first round pick. That was too far out on the horizon for me to really want to pull the trigger.
Sweet. And Thorn, you got any thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, and looking kind of at Hayes' end of season schedule, he could drop easily, the three of the last four and drop from I think he's fifth right now to like, nine or 10, and that first round pick turn into a top 4 or 5 pick. So I think it made sense for sure once he made that trade with me to kind of now do this trade with Reed. So it was very smart for Kay. Yeah, I think he's setting himself up good for the next couple of years. And like you said, I think it's not going to be a crazy long rebuild. He still has those two, young, solid quarterbacks, and Jonathan Taylor. So, I mean, that's pretty easy to build around right there.
You lock down those two quarterbacks, building out the rest of the roster feels easy. It's trying to acquire those quarterbacks that can anchor the quarterback in super flex spot. That's hard. You get those done.
Exactly.
Picks can
Yep.
fill in the rest of the lineup. It's a lot harder to fill in the quarterback spots.
Yeah, and for me, Reed makes a ton of sense for you. You get your RB1 on your team. Kyron's not a guy who's notably going to win you a week, but he'll never lose you a week. He's perfect for the situation you're in. Yeah, like you said, you're not forced into running out K9 anymore. I think the big thing for K got both of his next two firsts back, which notably in the reclamation draft, Thorne went out of his way to
I
get
did. I did.
He's
Oh
ahead of the
both
yeah.
your picks.
curve.
So that's six. Yeah. So I think that will do it. Reed?
Yeah. Thanks for again, Cam and Cam popping on here, short notice. Big day for the league. We always love some pre-deadline activity. Shout out to the new reclamation draft pair, keeping this league interesting. Shout out to Cevan hosting the episode, and shout out to myself for hosting and making a trade, I guess. So shout out me. Thank you for listening to the emergency pod. We'll see you next week.